So today I'm joined by Nicolas Vandenberghe, CEO of Chili Piper. Welcome, Nicolas.
Thank you.
So first question I have is, after your previous exits from your other startups and just your street credibility that you have, why did you choose to bootstrap your current startup rather than to seek institutional capital?
We target the sales people, so in sales tech, and we felt that we had to learn a lot about what salespeople need, and there was no better way to learn than to be salespeople ourselves. So we thought we're going to build a product very quickly that we can sell, and we're going to learn all the details of what it takes to be a really good salesperson, and understanding what the tools are needed to do a really good job. And from there, we'll be able to expand our vision and both come up with the right products and then take capital to expand the company. To be honest, we didn't think it would last as long as we did. We thought we would do it for 6 months, 6 to 9 months. We got cash positive very quickly. So we started in January 2016. We were cash positive in October 16. Because we were cash positive, we were able to hire more people. So we decided to continue. Then we had a great idea for a new product that we call Concierge. I'll explain later. We thought, oh, we don't need extra capital to do it. Let's do it. One thing led to another. We continued and then reached 2 million in run rate before we actually got inbound interest from VCs, and we accepted some of them. So it was the direction at the beginning that we thought we just need to learn ourselves and do it, and then it lasted much longer than we expected.
Well, I think with other entrepreneurs, you will get definitely a lot more respect if you chose a bootstrap route than trying to seek financing right off the bat. So the fact that you put in your sweat equity and the time and effort shows a great deal. And certainly your background as a VP of sales in your prior position certainly helped a lot as well, I would imagine. Right. Now, one of the things I realized is that you started a business with your wife and as well as a colleague of yours. What advice would you give to other co-founders where they're potentially working with their spouse or partners and or friends? That's
a question I got a lot. What is it like to work with your wife? Does it mean more trouble at home? The reason why we did it is that we have very complementary skills, which is, in my opinion, the number one requirement. And the second requirement is that we have much respect for each other professionally. So I knew that Alina is one of the best product designers out there. She had a track record. She worked for Bloomberg. She worked for Pearson. In all these positions, she led the product team and did an amazing job. My strengths are more on the business development, sales, operations. And she had seen me operate before. I was very successful as VP of sales at Lightsquare. So she also had trust in my abilities to do that. As a result, when we got together, it was very natural. We just said, okay, we're going to, and we didn't have a problem with decision making. So you make this decision on product, I make the decision on sales. It's very straightforward. And this has worked beautifully. If you both focusing on the same thing can become much harder, right? Because then you can start arguing. If both part of the couple are strong on product, then they're going to argue a lot about how to do the product, and they may take these arguments back home over dinner and poison their life. In our case, it was much easier. We had clear areas of responsibilities, and it worked beautifully. Yeah, I think setting the right boundaries is so important for any relationship. So I think it's having that clear delineation makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Before I address specifically the solution that and the feature that we address, I'd phrase it slightly differently on the disruption of the human to human. I think it's the trend that's happening, and we're not creating the trend. We are facilitating the trend. What you see everywhere is that buyers do their own research, right? So in the old days, the rep from Oracle would I operated as chief information officer for a while, and a rep from a bunch of companies would call us. They would tell us about their solution, they'd pitch us, explain, then we'd make a decision. Now it works very differently. The buyer goes and does their own research, and they don't need the relationship with sales teams to do that research. In addition, there's a lot more solutions out there. With the cloud, the number of there was a recent infographics on sales tech. I think there's about 700 solutions. MarTech is past 1,000. So there's a lot of solutions out there. You would have to have a lot of relationships with a lot of people to be able to keep up. So the market has changed, and what we're doing at Chili Piper is that we bring the tools for this new market where things behave differently. So it's no longer about running a sales process, it's about helping the buyer make this decision in this overcrowded set of solutions. That's what we call it buyer enablement, our category is because we're building tools for selling companies to help their buyer. So the first solution we've come up with to make this vision a reality is what we call concierge. And that solves a very simple problem, surprisingly simple problem. Most B2B companies spend a lot in marketing. They bring a lot of leads and traffic to their website. The call to action is a form, request a demo or contact us. The prospects fill the form, they click submit, and they get a thank you page. Thank you, we're going to call you. And then you're left wondering, well, when are you going to call me and who is going to call me? And that leads to often more than 50% leakage, meaning they lose more than 50% of their leads because the leads wonder who is going to call them and they never hears back. It actually happened to me at LinkedIn. I wanted to talk to a rep. I submitted the form. I guess somebody's going to call you. A week later, nobody had called me. I called back, said, yes, we did call you. We called you the next morning, but it was a 408 number, and I didn't take the call because I didn't know who was calling me for the 408 number area code. So we solved that problem. Our solution sounds simple, but it's actually very complicated because the web is owned by marketing. The follow-up is owned by sales. So now you have a process you're in between, and you have to make marketing happy and sales happy and all their tech stack compatible. So our solution concierge is a little JavaScript. Upon form submit, we're going to look for which rep should. First, we're going to qualify the prospect. Then we're going to look at which rep should take the call. Then we're going to find if he's available. If he's available, we're going to trigger a call and immediately put the prospect in touch with the rep. If they're not available, we're going to retrieve a calendar and enable them to book a time for the prospects that's convenient. So from a prospect standpoint, you go from thank you, somebody's going to call you someday maybe, they call me maybe, to here it is, you're talking to Scott right now, or here's Scott's calendar, pick a time that's convenient for you. So that's a completely game changer, as you can imagine. We actually did it because it was a better experience for the buyer. But what's resulting is that the conversion rates of our customers often double. So we have a case study with Grow. They were a company called Grow, a fast-growing company. They were actually at a 40% conversion rate. They struggled to improve that conversion rate. Then they deployed concierge, and boom, they went up to 70% conversion rates. So we still wish they wouldn't lose 30% of these leads, but certainly it's a lot better than losing 60% of them. So that's the current product that we bring to market as a first step in our vision of buyer enablement.
I really like the fact that when you look at the sales methodology, you're pinpointing a very specific conversion point, which is the lead to prospect. And it's a pain point that I think just about anybody on the sales side would actually, would concur with you. So you're actually solving for that specific problem, which is a friction. It's a friction point. And of course, behind the scenes, it sounds like there's a lot of integration work, but you're keeping it alive by keeping it at the JavaScript level. So it sounds
That's
like
right.
I could imagine that the metrics would be fairly easy to track and that you'll be able to see the return on investment very quickly. So tell me about, what does it mean for their process, particularly on the sales side, because you're basically handling a kind of a disparate, fragmented process between marketing and sales and maybe even the product people.
So what we find is that companies have spent a lot of money and time in optimizing that current process. So I think of it as a broken process, right? When somebody said thank you is going to call you and you don't know, but that's been the process for years, and they use all sorts of tools to optimize this process. So Marketo to make sure everything is scored, and then some distribution solution to assign the leads, email sent, all sorts of rules. So the heavy investment in that process, and there's also a reference point. They compare the conversion rates on that process to the outbound conversion rates. So they say we have this process when people will come on this website, and when we call them, we convert them to what you said, right? Lead to prospect. And then on the outbound, we have a lot of leads, and we call them and we convert them to prospect. The outbound conversion rates is typically below 5%, right? You reach out to a lot of people. So they think that 40% is beautiful, right? Because compared to 5%, it's so much better. So they have this process that they think is optimized and happy, and have a hard time believing that they could go to 70 or 80% if they just thought of the box with concierge and just replaced that process. So that's what we're finding. So what we had to do is make sure that as much as possible we don't change things, even though we completely change things. So we keep Marketo if it's Marketo, we keep some distribution there. We're compatible, of course, with Salesforce, with how the rules that they're going to use, and we just implement a faster way to do that process.
Yeah, I like the approach that you guys are taking. At least at this stage of the product development, you're taking a very tactical, specific, poignant approach that's solving the greatest problem. As you're able to share, can you share a little bit about the product roadmap? What's coming up next in terms of your next major milestone?
Yes, so we are finding exactly what you said, that this solution that we provide is applicable to pretty much every B2B company. So we've decided that we're going to provide a simple version for free, so that everybody can experience it. As I mentioned, there's a bit of education to do. It's a different way to do things, and people have to believe it's possible and profitable. So that's what we're going to do next. Release a simple version of Concierge, so that everybody can experiment with you. People like you, if you have people contacting you, in real time, you'll be able to qualify them, segment them, and then book or get in touch with them the way you want. That's probably going to be coming up this summer. But then we have a much bigger vision. When we say buyer enablement, we see many other opportunities for sellers to be much more helpful to their buyers. So we're building tools that are going to help salespeople being buyer focused. That's going to come up later in the year. We mentioned earlier that we take some external funding in February. We've hired a lot of engineers, and we're actually building these new solutions. So that is something that you'll be able to get more details on by October.
Yeah, I like your approach to the freemium model. Not only does it help accelerate your market adoption, but ultimately it's about data. And as you understand the data usage, you can understand which feature or which point in the stage would they need to basically absolutely have, and that's where you start to allow for the premium upgrade opportunities.
That's right.
And then you're right. I think one of the biggest fundamental challenge with sales is that, and this was an issue that I think large companies like Oracle and SAP and others have had over the years, is transitioning from transactional to consultancy model, where it takes a kind of an empathetic approach that takes a buyer's needs first. And that is not just a technology approach, but it's a mindset approach. And I think if you can help facilitate that model, then I think it's going to be definitely a win-win for everybody else. Let's quickly get into the mandatory question we always ask, which is, what was your greatest product failure and lessons learned?
So I had an unusual product failure. Look, I've done several companies. I'm an entrepreneur, so I have several product failures, but I'll mention the most recent one because it's the most unusual one. And there's a lesson to it. Before Chili Pepper, I started a company with this idea that a company called Floating Apps, with the idea of helping salespeople do their job by retrieving all the information in their email, contacts, and phone calls, and automatically updating the CRM. The reason for that was that I saw my reps refusing to update the CRM because it's so much of a hassle, and it was the same every week, same problem. Hey, you haven't updated the CRM. Oh yeah, I know, but I'm busy, I'm selling, right? So we built this solution to solve that problem. By the time we built it, we found that another company in San Francisco had the same idea called Relate IQ, and another company in Israel also had the same idea called Implicit. And we thought, okay, well, that happens. Some people have the same idea around the same time. It turned out somebody at Salesforce decided to buy Implicit, so they acquired them. And then shortly after, Mark Benioff decided to buy Relate IQ for $390 million and integrate it at all. So here we are with this beautiful product, with the 100-pound gorilla in the space has now the same product twice in their portfolio to bring to market. So that was the most unusual failure I've had, because it was like too good of an idea that, and the market turned on me. And I think the lesson is there's a limit to what you can predict when you're an entrepreneur. The market is going to turn a certain way. It's the serenity prayer, right? Give me the courage to change the things I can change, the serenity to accept what I cannot, and the wisdom to tell between the two. In this case, we just had to accept that the market had turned on us in an unexpected way. Luckily for us, that gave birth to Chili Pepper. That's when we decided to say, okay, we need to do something different, and we started Chili Pepper, and that was worked beautifully. But that was certainly a strong lesson, unusual.
Yeah, I think it's a quintessential example, a case study of the need for pivots. And a tried and true entrepreneur rarely gives up, but the fact that they're willing to pivot is exactly what you've done. And if you look at examples like PayPal, Twitter, Slack, every one of these great success stories require pivots. What they became and what they were sold for at the liquidity event was not exactly what they started out. So I think, again, your perseverance and desire to push through what the market needs the most, I think in some ways you can make the argument that your product's going to be even better. Looks like you received the most recent round in you mentioned February, April timeframe. I wish you the best as you increase your development team and work on the next product milestone. And I wanted to thank you for joining. So today I've been joined by Nicolas Vandenberghe, CEO of Chili Pepper. Nicolas, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Scott.